All right. Want to welcome everybody. This is our first official podcast here at 10 Act Championship Coaching. And this is something we're trying out. And if it works, we would like to do some more. And it's just uh, basically going to be going through some different training philosophies, theories, and or things that are going on and with our athletes and with us. And just kind of hopefully you'll learn some things along the way, and we always encourage you to reach out with any questions. This is I'm Coach Jason Tullous, and with me here is Coach Chad Beyer.
Everyone.
And first, I'd like to congratulate Chad on his recent marathon. He just participated at the Chicago Marathon, something he'd been building up to all year. Chad, do you want to give us a little piece of your experience there?
Yeah, I mean, marathons are never easy, so a lot of suffering on the day, but it was an awesome experience as my first major city marathon. So running that course with 40,000 other people is a cool experience, and all the fans lining it is fun.
I was following along with your wife, doing a couple of Instagram posts, and what I really enjoyed is, or kind of what I saw, you were at the half at 109, and I was really stoked to see that. I know you had some goals for the event, and I was excited that you were going for it.
Yeah. The ultimate goal is to try to hit that Olympic trials qualifying standard, so sub 218. Leading up to this race, my preparation hadn't gone perfectly, but I was trying to optimize everything I could. So spent some time up at altitude, came back to try to get some heat adaptation, everything I could, outside of on the bike training or running training. So going into it, I kind of had a good idea of where my fitness was at. So I knew it was going to be kind of a reach goal to hit that sub 218, but any place to do it, it's one of those marathons. There's so many fast guys running it. So I found a good group early on and just went for it. And we were right on pace, 109 at the halfway point. And I was feeling pretty good, but my body just wasn't really accustomed to running that pace for that long. So I started coming apart after that. Mile 15 and then mile 18 is really feeling it, and had to suffer it out to just make it to the finish after that. But, I'd run 2 marathons earlier in the year, one at 224, the other one at 225. So I definitely knew I was capable of that. So wanted to kind of push the limits and see if I could hold on to that pace the whole way, or if I would eventually come apart, and found out the hard way. But it was fun.
Hey, I think you have to do that. You have to at least go for it. You've already done that 224 and 225, like you said, so it didn't really matter if it was 224, 230.
Yeah.
But if you were able to somehow pull it out and get that sub 220 or ultimately that 218, that would be something for it. So this is our first podcast, and I kind of asked Chad to join me. Without telling him why, I asked him specifically. I mean, I know he'll be here on this podcast more often, but it's kind of a surprise to him, and it's not a big surprise. I just thought that this would be something for us to talk about, because it's been something that's been kind of, how do I want to say, it's been something that's been an itch for me for quite a while, and I started scratching that itch here lately. So what I would like to ask Chad is basically if you would coach me to run a 50K.
All
And
right.
I don't have a specific event or anything. I'm not looking to compete. Um, I just have this itch to run, and I know why, and I'll go into that. But um, and I figured, this could be a good experience for both of us. I haven't had a coach since I raced a long time ago, and I think it would be good to have somebody to hold me accountable. And I would I would like to do it. I don't, like I said, I don't have an event, and maybe we come up with an event, but I would like to do it before my 51st birthday, um, which is March 12th. So
Okay.
that's not very long, especially for me because I don't run.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So,
gonna be tough, but
um,
doable. Yeah, I definitely love to help you with that goal. I think that'd be fun. I think it's always fun, when you have kind of that engine built up from a different sport and applying it to something else. It's not your typical, you know, uh, curve and trajectory of someone starting from scratch. So I think that'll be fun challenge for you.
yeah, and like I said, there were a few things that kind of led me into this. I had this itch a long time ago. And I would say, of course, I would say anybody that read the book Born to Run uh, would have this itch. I mean, it's such a romantic idea to go out on these long runs, and I did. I bought some shoes and I started running, and I got to where I could run 10 miles pretty comfortably, and this was probably 15 years ago. Um, and and then I got bored with it, or it never got to where it was easy, and that's what I tend to tell anybody that I work with that runs is like, there's no coasting and running,
Mm-hmm.
like there is on the mountain bike. So so I've always had that kind of itch, and I would typically every year start running, and I would run for about 6 weeks. Again, I would work myself up to where I could run about a 10K and pretty comfortably. And again, I'm not a fast runner at all. It's not about being fast for me. It's more of this internal itch that I have and this romantic idea of going up and running. So that has always been there. And then recently, one of my athletes had asked me about a book or suggested a book, David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, which was a great book. I mean, I don't agree with all his philosophies and takes on things, but he has some excellent uh, ways and explanations and exercises on how to battle through that mental game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just his is an incredible story, and of course he's an ultra distance uh, kind of legend, and and I don't I don't know if I would want to do something that big, like 100 mile or anything, um, and I don't want to commit to that yet. Knowing that my history has been that I kind of stop after 6 or 8 weeks of running, um, that I'd like to just have this first goal of like a 50K, and I don't know why I chose a 50K. I don't necessarily want to run a marathon. I don't want to be in with 40,000 people in Chicago. I'd rather be out on a trail. Um, and another thing that kind of brought me to this more recently was, and I forwarded this article to you. It was Kilian Jornet's kind of manifesto, if you want to call it that, or his publication of how he trained all last year, or this year actually. Um, and I would say that that's probably the best thing that I've read this year. Um, and did you have any insights from that as when you read it over?
I just like how he's not afraid to incorporate, cross country skiing, different sports to help him, with his process and training. I think some runners become so addicted to hitting certain mileages every week, and they kind of lose sight of their ultimate goal, of being fast, fresh, ready to race on race day. And they just kind of, you know, um, become kind of a slave to the process and instead of keeping that objective in mind. And I think he does a great job of always questioning why he's doing what he's doing throughout the whole process. So I thought it was great and lots of good insights in there of how he approaches his training and his relationship with it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I would say that, and I think this is not just for ultra runners or anything. I would say this is for every athlete, that it's such, I don't know, as me as an athlete or me as a coach, it's such an inspiration to see an athlete like this, somebody that is exploring themselves, and it's just awesome to see the confidence that he has in his self as far as like how he feels and being able to follow through on that feeling, and not saying, I'm going to do these intervals today because it's on the schedule and I have to do these intervals. It's more of, it's a little bit more free form. And that he puts, or at least the way I read it, he has some sort of focus throughout all the intervals, whether it was on his cadence or, something mental or some skills or some speed or something. And I think that that's really important. And that's something that we try to work with athletes with also, is having a goal for every workout, even if it's a recovery workout. And so that you do have that purpose and it helps you continue through that, even if it is a recovery workout, if you have that purpose and that knowledge of why you're doing that and you can continue to follow through on that, helps you to accomplish that goal of recovery for that workout.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me after reading it that, I've read some Bruce Lee philosophy quite a bit, and he has this thing where he had his students. There were these three levels of cultivation, or I would say three levels of an athlete, and where you have that first level, it's I think Bruce Lee calls it a primitive stage, and it's where it could be anybody just out there doing their sport, whether that's kung fu or cycling or running. You're just out there doing it. It doesn't have any intent or any purpose, but you could block kicks, or you could throw a punch, or you could go ride up a mountain or down, or go run the canals. You're just out doing things without a purpose. And then the next stage of the athlete would be the mechanical stage, and then that's where I would say that we see most of our athletes is, we do give them a purpose. They go out and they mechanically reproduce these, intervals, and they learn a lot. And I would say that this is where most athletes get to. And they're continuing to learn, but they can tend to lose that freedom that they have in their self. And then once you gain that freedom, that is that third stage, and Bruce Lee would call that the stage of artlessness. And I see Kilian Jornet, he's at that stage after, just reading the article. I'm like, wow, he's there. And mm-hmm. I've seen it at least in three athletes that I've worked with over 22 years. It's not something that's common. and it's not something I direct athletes to get there. I just, through our conversations and our relationship as it grows, I just tend to know, oh, wow, we're at this new place. And one of the first athletes that I recognized that in was, one of your ex-teammates, John Murphy. And
Mm-hmm.
and it really became at that point a real working relationship. And that's something that I strive to get to with all my athletes, is where it's this back and forth and this communication of how they're feeling, and not being afraid to reach out to the coach or ask for changes, or just say how you're feeling, and what you feel you need. Because once you get to that, or you can express what you feel that you need, and I can, as a coach, I can always disagree, or I can guide you and say, oh, well, yeah, let's work that in here, or we're going to get to that in a few months, or yeah, let's do that now and take advantage. If you're feeling that right now, that let's do it. So at least going back to that article, it not only inspired me to like, to scratch this itch of running again, but also just as a coach, it's just remarkable. I think I've read the article 3 times. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so cool just to see this. So, but going back to that, I would think that I definitely don't have Killian's background or anything, but I would like, as you start to put together a program, like I would like something similar in that it needs to be free form, just with my life, and needing to, absolutely having some objectives for each week and the workouts, but being able to move things around, and at least that's the way I envision it. Not saying that I'm him again, or that I'm at that third stage as an athlete, but I would like to at least take on a coaching method in that manner. So,
yeah, that'll be a fun challenge for sure. Are you looking to do it more on like a trails, or do you have a route kind of in mind of what you'd like to do?
I think I definitely want to do a trail or a dirt road. I do have like a sub goal, and we can kind of get into this as we get more into these things, but I do have a 13-mile loop that'll be something to work up to, and have some bigger loops too that could be interesting, as if I'm able to continue my running past what I've done in the past.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a hard challenge running, especially coming from cycling. I've never had a sport where I was really limited on how much time I could dedicate to it, just due to the sheer, nature of the impact that's associated with running. It beats the body up compared to just going out. You can't go out for a 4 or 5 hour, easy jog. It's just so hard on the body as compared to on the bike. It's so easy to build up endurance. So it's definitely different, but it's fun way to mix it up for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's probably my biggest worry is the impact of it, and I'm fully aware that I'm going to have to take it slow to begin with.
Yeah.
I will say, last week I bought a pair of shoes, and I've been walking around in them a little bit, and I've done, I think, 3 run walks over the past week, just like 30 to 40 minutes. So I will be out of town all next week. I'm going up to Sedona for my PMBI certification for mountain bike skills. But maybe we can reconnect the week after that. And I'll just plan next week to continue my run walks, maybe try to get another 3 or 4 in. And so that'll be a couple weeks that I'll have in of doing little bit of work in that direction. So it's not just starting from blank, but
Nice.
but that I mean that's what I propose to you as far as like a plan. Let's maybe re-meet here in a couple weeks and kind of see what what your plan is or what our plan is, and kind of work from there. And that's what some of this podcast for everybody out there. I think some of what's going to hold this together is going to be this journey between coach and athlete, and then also being able to put a little bit more insights into why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, it'll be nice
So
to put it all together and reconvene. I already got wheels turning up in my head of how we can approach it and get you there. It's going to be pretty quick. March is coming up quick, so to get there and be comfortable at that distance is going to be tough, but definitely doable.
yeah, again, I'm not out there for any fast. I imagine myself walking, but and I know it's a quick turnaround, and that's because I may have some other obligations later in the spring, and but that may change, and we can change with it.
Yeah. Well, the cooler weather is more conducive for running for sure. You don't want to be battling 100-degree temps.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm really looking forward to it, and I appreciate Chad saying yes. And I think with that, we'll sign off. I say thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Awesome, thanks.